everyone, my name is Nishat Fatima. I am the Experience Management Community Lead and an XM expert. Today we have Ritu Bhargava with us, who's the President of Customer Experience Product at SAP. I'm super excited to talk to her about the product strategy, the CX product strategy, and how XM fits into this. So without further ado, let's jump right in. We have Ritu with us today, who's gonna talk to us about customer experience and how experience management kind of ties everything together. So thank you, Ritu, for being here.
Of course, you're so welcome. I'm so happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. So I kind of want to start with a quick question about you. So what actually motivates you?
Oh, the question would be, what does not motivate you? I'm just kidding. I would say fire in the belly. Like if you're passionate, I just love people who are deeply passionate. It motivates me. I think I'm deeply passionate about the things that I do. So yeah, your passion motivates me. My own passion motivates me.
Like, I feel like when we're in a room where somebody's passionate about a topic, there's no way that you can't like feed off of that. So I totally get it.
Yeah. And it's exciting. And, you know, there's so much to do and so little time. And yeah, this life is too short. You have to have fun and you have to be passionate and you have to move forward and do things. Yeah.
So jumping right into the CX product and the strategy for it, right? So what is the CX product strategy for 2022 and how does it tie to the overall SAP strategy?
Yeah, and this is frankly, so I finished 6 months very recently at SAP, and I come from Salesforce where I spent the last 10 years and 10 years before that at Oracle. And I started as a SAP developer. That is now more than 20 years ago. So I used to be like a FI, CO, SDMM, developer R3. And at that time, as you know, the AR01, SBRO, I still remember those transaction codes. And this is coming home to me. And but what has happened is this home that I've come home to is just a bigger mansion. So I used to live in a two-bedroom condo 20 years ago, and this home that I've come home to is a 40-story building, and just huge, like rooms after rooms after rooms. And there's so much to be done here, but we have also become so big that each room has a different theme, and sometimes, you know, one room does not really connect to the other without going through a very circuitous kind of a way. And as I think about the CX strategy now, for me, the strategy is not in isolation of what the bigger SAP is about. And SAP is world-class at some things, world-class, like no one can beat SAP at certain things. We have ERP. No one has that ERP. No one has that kind of a backend. And then for SAP, the industries that we have solutions for, and those industry solutions are just top-notch. When we talk about SAP, it's like, have you looked at their retail solution? Have you looked at their consumer goods solution or automotive solution? And so we have that. So for CX, we are also really good at some things. We have like some really deep engineering roots in some of the solutions that we have. Gigya as a company that we bought, the technology and the engineering there is top notch. And then we have Immerses, and I don't know if you've heard about the Service Cloud that we just launched a month ago, and it's just this modern stack API first cloud native solution. And so we have all these pieces, but the true strategy for me is how does that experience come together? So it's not about just each silo or each product working in itself, but it's how does it flow through from the back end to the front end? How are we one office, the back office and the front office? How does the experience of the user translate, not having to go and do like 5 different hoops to do their task? Lead to cash at the highest level is, of course, one business process, but the true business processes are at the next level. And so the strategy, coming back to your original question, is how does that end-to-end strategy for an end user at the experience level translate? And I think experience is key there. experience, not just of experience of custom experience. There's the experience that loyalty has, that Qualtrics has, that we have at the end user level. It's just experience. You don't really care about what are we seeing as an experience. The customer is not waking up every morning and saying, "Oh, I want to buy more software today. I have so much money, I'm going to buy software." What they're thinking about is, how is this software helping me? How is my experience really enriched? How can I do more with it? And so the more the strategy talks to it and really produces code that works, and not just our sales pitches, I think that's really where I'm going to focus on.
Awesome. So you talked about being cloud native and talking a little bit more about the cloud, right? So what does it mean for the entire portfolio, and how are we furthering our cloud strategy throughout this year and for coming years?
For the most part, the CX portfolio is cloud strategy, cloud native. But we also have some pieces where we bought Hybris, for example, which was an on-prem software, which was, I think, in 2013. We have bought most of it into the cloud. We have a lot of sales and service already moved to cloud native stack. With the latest Service Cloud that I just talked about is a cloud native stack. So there are more modernization work that we have to do to think through, okay, are we truly API first? Are we a microservices based architecture? Are we thinking about extensibility and scalability ground up rather than as an afterthought? And I think that's where cloud native becomes about true service ownership. Mm-hmm. You're not just relying on someone to, put some patchwork into what the customer will ultimately experience. If, we are saying that if you buy our software, table stakes, foundational stuff is non-negotiable, like scalability, reliability, availability, performance, user experience, all of that, security, all of that just comes with the software.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then for our customers, because SAP has been traditionally on-prem, right? So as we're kind of navigating through that, I'm going to talk about experience management here, right? Because that's what we focus on, and that's what selfishly I focus on. How does that kind of help our customers navigate and then embrace the cloud first strategy with SAP?
You want the customers to have the choice in their hands. Mm-hmm. You want to meet them as a vendor to be where they are, which is not just wherever they are in the universe, mm-hmm. ideally, but definitely on the planet, where they are, where they choose to be, where they choose to work from, whichever medium that they need to work from. So experience has to translate across all of those boundaries of geographies, of devices, of preferences, of compliance, and in the secure way that they need it to be. And so for cloud native and for our strategy to work through that end to end, and then the business models, which is really important. So the pandemic changed business models overnight. There were a lot of companies that were primarily B2B, and overnight they had to become D2C. You're like, why can't, that get shipped to me directly? And it did. And the companies that were scrappy and resilient and agile as to how they were able to transfer their business models survived. And there are a lot of them that did not, because they didn't think through their technology and their strategy of being able to adapt to the changing needs. And there's no guarantee that pandemic events will not happen again. And so as we think about the future, it's very important for us to think, can CX, for example, work as a B2B, a B2C, a B2B2C, a D2C kind of a setup? And it's not a question of should it. I think it's just about how much can it? And it should. It should. It's customers increasingly don't care. They're like, I need planet scale. I need to be able to change on a dime if I need to, because I'm not going to buy different technology overnight because I decide that, tomorrow I have to serve my customers in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so true. And then when you talk about experience management, right, because a lot of times Qualtrics comes into play, how does that kind of work with the overall SAP strategy? And then how are we kind of bridging those gaps? Because sometimes when we go to customers, that's what we're kind of helping them do, is that bridge the gaps between the different products and the different tools that they're using, and Qualtrics is a great way of kind of bringing that about. So how is SAP kind of thinking of like streamlining that?
So it happens in different, and it should happen in different ways. One is, and I can speak about product strategy because that's like very dear and near to my heart, and I own it. So the work that I have since since coming on board, I've been doing with the Qualtrics team is, hey Zig, hey Brad, hey Shek, let's talk together and think about in a product sense with code working together for customers not having to think about, are we in CX or are we in XM, for example, can it seamlessly work together? Can data flow, right? Can those experiences translate? And so I don't know if you followed, but recently I did announce our first integration, which is on the product side with the experience management and service cloud. So that's going to happen this year. And I think there's a big opportunity as a next step with commerce and CDP and Qualtrics coming together. It's a very compelling use case. We have a lot of synergies there. In the context of an industry, so I was talking about how SAP is really, really good with industry. So think about such a compelling case with retail, for example, coming in commerce and Qualtrics together. So that's second. And I think as we go deeper, there are like several use cases on the marketing side with the Marses. There are like CDP has a lot of power because data, I think, is the new currency. Intelligence should just be default in our strategy. Customers don't think of intelligence as an afterthought anymore. And Qualtrics has, bringing in the operational data and the experience data, structured, unstructured data together. I think it becomes extremely powerful with Qualtrics in the mix.
Awesome. And then lastly, I kind of want to get your take on what to you is experience management.
For me, it's delight. It's delight. So experience, there is experience management. I was like, okay, how's my experience? I'm sitting in a hotel room right now. How is this experience for me? The experience starts right as I enter the hotel, right? And what happens as my first interaction? What happens as I walk up the elevator, when I enter the room, when I exit the room? What happens at checkout, right? And all of that for me is, I don't remember every hotel room I've been to, but what stands out is like those moments of delight. Right? Wow, that was really a cool background, or that was a really cool view. And there's something, I think, every software, every experience, every hardware, every touch point, as if I may say so, has to emote in us. Otherwise, we're just another Me Too.
That is true. That is so true. And what you said kind of translates to the digital world too, right? From anytime you enter a website, for example, how are you being catered to? Because that's important, because there's so many things out there that it's ease of use, what's convenient, and then customer service, because how does follow-up work, and kind of like bringing that together and the different touch points.
Right. And it's also like, if you want to go at that level, customer service, you call, you make a phone call. You don't ideally want to make a phone call anymore to solve, you just want to say, okay, I went on that site and it should just tell me how to do it myself. Right. I want it to be self-service. I don't want to rely on anyone. I don't want my time to be wasted in interacting with a bot or a human being first. So get me out of my misery as fast as possible. And so for service or for sales, it's the automation. It's the, tell me what I don't know. Give me what I don't know what I want to buy. But I know I want to buy something. And so anticipate my needs, tell me, take me into the future and make my life easier is kind of, so experience translates to a lot of anticipation, a lot of bringing that delight with that anticipation. It's like, won't you be excited suddenly that a really nice hot coffee arrived at your doorstep? And you're like, wait a minute, I was having this really terrible interview and this amazing coffee just arrived. And okay, this is just the best interview that happened suddenly,
Yep. No, it's all the little things that kind of make it better. So last thoughts on what do we want to leave our audience here with? Any insights or advice that you have for us as an audience?
I think this is a very, very important phase in in SAP's journey. It's a big phase of transformation, of innovation, of delight, as I talked about. We are very committed right now to making that change. I'm here. I've a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my peers are new coming in. And a lot of colleagues who have been here are extremely competent. So just taking that, the goodness of what we have at SAP, bringing in with some fresh ideas, trying some things, risking some things. I'll just tell you that there is no place to be than at SAP right now. And I'm just supremely delighted and excited as to how much we can do. If there were like 24 hours that I could add to my day, I would, and I would work most of it, but I shouldn't do that. It's just the opportunity is so much. And if you are thinking about any new ideas, or if you have suggestions, or if you have some risks to take, I would suggest do it now.
Thank you. And that's why we're here at SAP. But thank you so much for your time today, Ritu. I really enjoyed our chat.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.